it's just such a luxury to have Anthony Edwards guarding Murray, to kill Alexander Walker guarding Murray, Jaden McDaniels, who's a great defender guarding Murray, and then you have three towers in Cat and Gobert and Nas Reed that can bang with Jokic. Like to beat this team, that's the ideal situation. Not only have guys that can do it, but multiple guys that can go at those two players because we know how great they are as a tandem. So it's almost funny as if the Timberwolves were just purposely built to beat them, which I think they might actually have been, being division rivals and seeing them throughout the year and knowing that you're gonna have to play against the Nuggets to get to the conference finals and hopefully the finals. So I'm just very impressed with what they've been doing. And it's just been a complete clinic on both ends on the ball for the Timberwolves. And I just think we're seeing how much more deeper they are than the Nuggets and just how much more physically gifted or how much more they can survive in this type of environment. So I think the Nuggets are going to have to change their mentality or else they might be the ones getting swept this year, which is crazy to even think about. Like that wasn't nowhere near our thought process at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, that is what surprised me the most, especially after seeing how the Nuggets responded by getting punched in the mouth and losing their composure. So it was really surprising to me because we never thought of the Nuggets even getting to this point where they were playing this bad, but not only that, responding the way that they did.
Yeah,
But like I
even being
mentioned
able to
before,
be rattled. They've always showed so
yeah,
much compose
yeah,
poise in their runs.
yeah. And that's why I mentioned what I mentioned with them not having gone through any sort of, I guess, adversity like this in terms of this iteration of this team. Because now this is the first time they've actually had this sort of adversity going up against a team that isn't afraid of them, that they can't just take advantage of mismatches because the Timberwolves are the ones that have the advantage. They are the ones that have the mismatches. So it was just really interesting to see how everything folded and how the Denver Nuggets reacted. But
Yeah.
to respond to what you said about it seems like the Timberwolves were built to beat the Nuggets. It's funny you say that because the guy that was the architect of the Denver Nuggets that kind of built the team a few years ago, getting Nikola Jokic there and Jamal Murray and all that stuff, he is actually the architect of the Timberwolves now. So it's kind of funny that you said that they are built to beat the Denver Nuggets or they have the personnel to beat the Denver Nuggets because I completely agree. And a lot of people are talking about how the Timberwolves have exposed the Denver Nuggets and all of the defensive things that they are doing to the Nuggets. But if you really think about it, this is the only team that can do it. This is the only team that has the personnel to do it. I can't think of another team in the league that has the personnel to be able to pull this off against the Denver Nuggets. And that's just kudos to them. And I want to say this about the Minnesota Timberwolves, man. I underrated them coming into the playoffs. Coming into the first round of the playoffs and even coming into this series, I underrated them and I was wrong about them. I leaned a little too much on their performance on the offensive end in the regular season and how they were inconsistent on that end and how they didn't handle late game situations in quite a few games during the regular season. But they have just flipped the switch. And everyone talks about their defense, which is amazing. And I'll go a little into that later. But I mean, offensively, they have been really good. Anthony Edwards has been efficient and he's been dominant on the offensive end. Karl Anthony Towns has been really good on the offensive end and really efficient. They have guys knocking down threes around them. Nas Reed has played very well on the offensive end. Nikhil Alexander Walker is a great 3 and D player. And, I just want to give them their props because they have played very well this postseason. Defensively, they're great. I love watching them play. I think that they are one of the best defensive teams that we've seen in the history of the NBA. I mean, you just go down the line like Mike Conley. For the majority of his career, he has been known as a really good defensive player at the point guard position, probably one of the best in the league in his prime. He's played on the grit and grind Memphis Grizzlies. We all know how good of a defensive team that was. Anthony Edwards, a lot of people consider him the best two-way player in the league now. Jaden McDaniels, like you mentioned, great defender, and a lot of people consider him probably the best perimeter defender in the league. Rudy Gobert, three-time Defensive Player of the Year. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you just mentioned him coming off the bench and his ability to play the point of attack defender position, and he has built his game off of being a 3-and-D player. Cat hasn't been known for his defense, I don't think, throughout the course of his career, but he's playing great defense. Naz Reid is playing great defense. Those two guys are actually tall 7-footers that can actually move their feet and play within the structure of this defense. So just, you know, want to give the Minnesota Timberwolves their props. They have been great this postseason, and I've enjoyed watching them. And like I said before, I'm not going to say that this series is over yet because I want to give the Denver Nuggets some sort of respect as the defending champions. But with that being said, the momentum has shifted and the advantage has shifted heavily in the favor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. And those guys are young, hungry, and they are not coming to play. They are coming to take this series. They're not waiting on anyone to give it to them. They are coming to take it. And if the Denver Nuggets want to have a shot in this series, they have to get their stuff together and they have to meet force with force, like you said. So shout out to the Minnesota Timberwolves, man. They've been playing great and it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, like I said, I've never seen a team just shut out another team, especially at the caliber of what we consider the Nuggets to be. I remember watching that game at night. We're on the East Coast, so it's a late game. If I was a Timberwolves fan, I'd feel comfortable going to bed at halftime. Like you could see it.
Yeah.
A lot of times the Nuggets are known for coming back and 20-point deficits and stuff like that. I know we like to talk more about the basketball and the X's and O's, but I think it speaks volumes to how much we're talking about the fight in them. And, coaches hate having to teach stuff like that and just the competitive spirit. Like they can teach the X's and O's, but the will to fight back and not lay down is something that doesn't sit right with you. And you could just visibly see that through the TV. The Nuggets were just all out of sorts. You could tell they were shocked as well, just like everybody else. So, like you said, the momentum has definitely switched, and now it's up to the Minnesota Timberwolves to just keep a grip on this momentum that they've had. We talked about them in the past going up against the Memphis Grizzlies, where we felt like they kind of let go of the rope and just they lost that series. It was their series to win, and they just didn't capitalize on it. Now, this iteration of this Timberwolves team, I think they're a lot more mature and they understand the importance of each possession. I think that they'll come to it with a better approach and try to close it out, especially going home in game 3. Minnesota's not an arena you want to play in either. Their fans are very loud and into the games as well. But I am interested to see how they handle this early success because you don't ever want to let up. And I don't think that's in this team's identity for this year. But with them being young and experienced and stuff like that, they haven't gotten to the second round, I don't believe, in the past few years or in a long time. So I'm very interested to see how they're going to come out in this game 3. Are they going to keep that intensity or are they going to feel like their job's done? And then are they going to allow that confidence to sink back into Denver's mind? Because even though Denver has been out of character and out of sorts so far, I still think that they're going to want to prove something. They're going to look at that film. Like they've had 3 days to sit on this film. That game was on Monday. They play Friday. I'm sure Michael Malone was grilling them through all the film sessions, and I feel like
Yep.
they definitely looked at that tape like, man, we really just laid down and took that beat and we didn't fight back. So it's really going to be a testament of your competitive spirit, and hopefully Denver can turn this into something, but I can't lie, it's entertaining watching Minnesota right now.